Live.
We have some people cleaning upstairs.
Dang, I hate it when I do that.
Always.
Sports, when you've got a great ball club. Sports, when you're leaving it all on the field. Sports, when you like your team's chances. Sports, to survive and advance in. Sports, for the teams you love and the teams you love to hate. Oh, it's Sports Channel 8. Yeah. Sports Channel 8. Hey! Hey! Hey!
It is Sports Channel 8, the radio show. Sports Channel 8, the streaming show. Used to be a radio show. It is the middle of the NCAA tournament. Duke and UNC are on a collision course, hurtling towards each other.
3 more wins.
The thing about
We just need 3 more wins.
We're talking 3 more wins. That's also halfway there, and like the harder half is still to come. Like they got 3 wins close to each other. UNC's got to win 2. Duke's got to win 1. I still say it's not going to happen. We're going to talk about what happened last night and whether or not it could. A Duke win, a Gonzaga loss. You know, Ben Swain's excited. He joins us. Josh Goodson, bottom right. We'll take him out when he starts walking around his house. And Brian Geisinger pushing Power 5 down there in the bottom left. Let's start with Swain. What more exciting last night? Duke's win or Gonzaga's loss?
It's fun. Like I don't care that Gonzaga lost. Like you kind of want to. So look, if Duke had played first, right? So Duke plays the 7:00 game, and Gonzaga is the 9:00 game. I definitely would have been tuned in. Like, yeah, hoping Gonzaga loses, right? But you don't do that when you play second.
Gotcha.
So much like bad juju in doing any of that.
Good point.
That you never want to be the first team. I'm sorry, you never want to be the second team that plays in the late game talking about who's going to win or lose the first game. And honestly, I didn't watch a second of it because I was watching the Canes. But I would have watched it otherwise. It's not like I was avoiding the game. But yeah, it wasn't on my radar last night.
All right. Let's jump straight to the Duke Blue Devils. Your thoughts coming away? Oh, God. Goodson on the walk. He's out of
Blair Witch Goodson over here.
He's been bored. He makes everyone motion sick trying to watch the show. And for those who care, I believe Weather Moose is a serviceman at Goodson's house now. He's claiming he's in a static position. We'll see.
He's on his newly fixed screen porch.
Yeah.
I will say that sky does look beautiful behind
It does. Yeah.
That is a great blue sky. I thought the game was over as soon as Vegas made Texas Tech the favorite. Like we've said this on the show before. Like if you can get Duke as an underdog, that's a blind bet you lie down. Right?
It wasn't even Vegas. Name one talking head. Name one pundit who said Duke was going to win that game. You can't. Like it was I'm not joking. It was literally the biggest upset win of K's career.
You were leading into a perm. Why would, if you were talking about why? Like it makes no sense to not even to just totally discount Duke. Now I will say the first 4 minutes of the game last night, I did have the thought of how did Texas Tech ever lose to anyone this year? Like no one can ever score against them, and they're just making layups, right? Like how did they lose however many games they lost? But it mind boggles me that people tried to get so wrapped up in efficiency and how the game is going to be called. And, if fouls are called in this game, Duke will win. And fouls weren't even an issue, right? I think it was
not at all. Not an issue.
It was 14-12. And I remember Matt Norlander released an article yesterday, where coaches said, if the whistle's tight, then Duke might have a chance. But if they let them play, it's done and it's a wrap. And I don't know. I am probably more often than not a guy who's going to look at teams and say, who has better players? And you're just going to win every game. And I know that doesn't work, but generally it works out for the most part. And like,
well, it works when one of those best players is Paolo Banchero.
right.
It's like, all right, well, they have the ultimate weapon. Like, there just aren't many 6'10" guys on planet Earth at that age that can pass like that, right? I mean, he's the entire court mapped out. And Swain, I'll say this: because I am I'm very meek with my prognostications. I just kept saying the game was a coin toss, and I wrote a huge 3,000 word column about it, but then I just didn't make a prediction on it. I was like, I can see it going either way.
Was it a regular coin toss or like a Mayo Pete coin toss?
And then flip it over. And then what were from your basketball analyst chair, BG, like going in? Goodson mentioned one that was more arbitrary, like if it's called a certain way. But were you watching for how they guard Banchero, or if they double, or were there things you were like, once I saw this, I realized why Duke sort of had to
knowing how much Texas Tech switches. Like, everyone thinks of them as just like this pure no middle defense, but they switch like Florida State too. That's like what makes them this kind of like wacky, really tough to play like efficient basketball against defense. And so I was curious to know, like, when they switched smaller guys onto Mark Williams, would he be able to do anything in the first, in the post against a smaller guy or on the offensive glass? Could he do anything? In the first half, that was no, but then he kind of came alive in the second half and had like one of the dunks of the tournament off a fine from Banchero. And then the flip side of that is, well, what could Jeremy Roach and Wendell Moore do when they got one of the front court players from Texas Tech switched onto them? And the answer for that with Jeremy Roach was light all of those guys on fire. I'm charting this. I'm going back and I'm like halfway through the first half. And what I'm trying to do is chart events that Jeremy Roach had in this game and whether it was against a switch defender or not. And everything so far, shots, fouls, assists, and turnovers have all come against the switch. So, he was great attacking the switch last night. And then I also kind of thought Texas Tech's defense, on the flip side, no one was really talking about Texas Tech's offense. And this is a team that played 5 out, that has 2 front court guys in O'Banner and Williams that can shoot. And I thought that's a kind of look that's given Mark Williams some issues this season, right? It either plays him off the court or they switch and they have trouble guarding pick and roll that way. We saw that against Miami. We saw that against UNC. We saw that against Virginia Tech in recent weeks. And all of a sudden, K throws out a curveball last night and goes zone with Theo John for a huge stretch of the second half. And that was enough of a breaking ball off speed pitch to get Texas Tech off their game, to get Duke back into it. And so I don't know. I thought it was really, there was some really good shit from Duke's staff in this game, coaching wise. And I thought that going to the zone, it offset some of the defensive issues Duke was having guarding Williams and O'Banner. And yeah, what else can you say about Roach and Banchero?
Yeah.
These dudes were incredible.
I think we saw Duke's fastball last night again.
Yeah.
That stretch in the second half, no one can beat that. And they do that. They did that against Syracuse and the Dome. They did it at the beginning of the game and basically put the game out of reach. They've done that a few other times this year, and no one can match their fastball and beat their fastball whenever they do that.
I think they've got a gear above that though, because Keels, it was a nothing game for Keels last
Keels
night.
was awful.
He's in I know things are getting really wobbly for him late in the season, but he was good against Michigan State, and I'm not surprised that K tightened the rotation in the second half and basically didn't play him. But he is a very good and talented player. It's you can actually get more out of that. I think Duke's got a gear above what you saw last night, which it's should be pretty scary for every team left in the tournament, especially if Banchero is playing like this. It's just you can't match up with this guy. You're gonna have to put
the number one draft pick prospect is playing great.
Yeah,
the other team is screwed.
And it's also I was texting with a media colleague of ours a couple minutes before I hopped on the show. We were talking about Banchero, and It's just like it's so dumb how easily people like overlooked or took for granted what he was doing this season. Like he got completely written out of the ACC Player of the Year race with like a couple weeks left in the season, where it was like he's like, for me the race was between he and Alondes Williams, not Alondes Williams and Armando Bacot. And by some metrics, some catch-all metrics, Paolo Banchero was statistically the best player in the league. He was certainly the best prospect in the league. And what he's done these last couple of games is just incredible. I think people got a little too down on him when like he didn't score 30 points at Virginia despite being double teamed on every possession. I was like, why can't you just destroy them when they're putting two guys on you every time you touch the ball? So anyways, I just, when he's playing like this, there's no matchup for him other than put two guys on him and hope Duke doesn't eat off of that.
Yeah, I think with Banchero, I don't think he's compared to other freshmen or other players. I think he's compared to Zion, and it's difficult not to do that. And just no one else is Zion. Like it's never going to be another one of those guys.
So he's getting compared to literally like the best draft prospect since LeBron James. Yeah. Like the standard could almost not be higher, you know? And at this point, it's like I think he's starting to exceed some of those expectations, honestly. Like
his drives, he's got those long strides. I feel like even when he's well defended, sometimes you can almost like call out what his move is. It's like, oh, he's gonna spin here, but you don't have a chance to stop it, right? And then if you're not tight on him, he's gonna pull the short range jumper, and then you're just as like as he's pulling, you're like, oh man, if he misses this, he's already going for the rebound. So like you don't know whether to get a hand in his face to try and alter the shot, or immediately try and box him out and be like, all right, give him the 8-footer and try and keep him from putting it back. It's like his moves don't seem stealth or like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. They seem like you see them coming, and yet you still can't stop him. He's got the long strides and long arms, and he gets
with that spin move. He gets from like 20 feet out to the rim with that spin move. He's just at the rim in a flash, and like the only way you can stop that is to send help. And it's like it's obvious with him that like he's just aware of where Griffin and Williams are every time he has the ball. Because he's always thinking, like, if I have to, I'll just throw this at the rim, or like, where's AJ? And I'll either kick it to the corner or I'll skip it to him. And like, it's a 50% chance he makes this three, which is just such like that's NBA type court mapping from him to be like, where's my shooter? Where's my lob outlet at all times as I'm like collapsing in the defense? It's super impressive. And gets back to, I think he has the court mapped out in a way that you don't see many freshmen, especially guys that size, be able to do it. It's really special. He also hit 3 3-pointers last night too, including one that, I mean, it was technically the game winner, right? Was it not? It was the one that put them up.
Yeah, they were down 2. He hit 1 to go up 1. Yeah,
incredible.
But before we move on, like I want to throw out how freaking rare it is to have a game like last night where you come out of it and our entire discussion has been about the players on the court, right?
Yeah.
There's no let's spend 20 minutes breaking down this call. Like it was an enjoyable basketball game because the players decided the game. And I thought that was something that hasn't happened a lot in this tournament. Because even like I was following the Gonzaga game on Twitter, and all of the talk was about the fouls on Holmgren.
They were bad. I mean, there were some bad calls in that game.
Am I crazy on this, BG? It felt like they were telling Holmgren, like, look, you may be vertical, but like you have plenty of time to try to make a play on the ball, and you're doing nothing. You're just standing. Like, I get that you're vertical, but like, dude, swing your arms or get out of the way. Like I felt like that was kind of the message to him, and I
couldn't tell because I mean, to your point, like there was the one that he got his 4th foul on, where I was like, I don't know what being vertical means now. Yeah. Like you know, it's like it may be what you're describing. Like I'm not sure what the refs are looking for there. I don't know.
It just felt like the dudes weren't. They may not have been blocks because, again, he was going straight up. He was clearly inside the thing, but he's going straight up. But it wasn't like slamming contact, so it didn't seem like it should be charges. But it just felt like it was like, dude, these guys aren't coming at you that hard. You got time to attempt to block. Like you could try and block and not bump hips with the guy, and that's the play you should be making. And because you didn't, we're giving you a foul. Even if it wasn't the right call, I felt like that was kind of the message they were sending. But yes, it did. I was a little annoyed that it caused him to not play at all. But there was part of me that was like, dude, block a shot. You're huge. Duke plays Arkansas. Fortunately, Vegas has done done us a favor of not giving the game to Duke automatically by making the underdog. Goodson, what's the line there?
I think it's 3.5.
It's about what it should be.
It'd be a fun game. It looks like it should be a fun game again too.
How much money would it take to make Arkansas the favorite?
Swain wants to lay down a $4 million bet on Arkansas.
If Arkansas had Corliss Williamson, they would be the favorite.
Big nasty Scotty Thurman. Do not let Scotty Thurman, fat boy, open from three.
So here's what's funny. Like Arkansas and Muss played like the underdog card last night. Like nobody believed in us and what. Arkansas has no idea how much revenge is on the mind of like Duke fans for this game. Like you ask Duke fans, like change one play in Duke history, they're picking that play where Scotty Thurman hit the three over Antonio Lang.
Yeah.
Like if he gets a fingertip on that, Duke has another national championship. And Grant Hill deserved it. Like he was unreal that year and deserved the national championship. And if you ask any fan, like what's the one thing that you will never forget, it's that. And so to be able to have some revenge on Arkansas is something I don't think Arkansas fans understand.
Do we need any more discourse on Gonzaga and them losing?
No, it's not even about Gonzaga at this point. It's about the people who cape up for Gonzaga.
Right, and that's the piece where I'm always like, you can't every year say, number one team, like, look good they've played, look good they like, because at some point you have to have the carrot at the end, and they don't have that. And they've been and when you're the one seed, you literally the number one overall one seed, you literally have the easiest chance to advance in this tournament, where this tournament is set up for you not to necessarily win to begin with, if that makes any sense.
Also, this was their year to do it.
I think last year
when they had like a legit NBA dude and
Jalen Suggs. I mean, they have that with Holmgren now too, but it sort of did it. Having it at like the lead guard spot like that is different. The
reason I said it felt like this year is because oftentimes we see the team that makes it all like they got blown out last year.
That's your little UNC 2016, 2017 redemption BS stuff. Like, no, get over that. No.
The same thing happened to Duke. Duke got blown out by Vegas and then came back the next year and won it.
30 years ago. Miss me with that.
UVA lost in the first round, and the
Gonzaga is way worse this year than they were last year. Not way worse, but they are not as good of a team.
That wasn't even a UNC. That was a Duke thing. Duke's the one that got blown out by 30 in the championship and came back the next year. I'm not even talking about buzzer beating.
Get out of here.
But I do think that the Duke, UNC, UVA, all are examples of like we thought we should.
UVA had the easiest path in the history of a one seed to win the damn thing, and like basically had 2 games where they were lucky to win.
That's fine, but they still did. I'm just saying, there's something about like Gonzaga. It would have felt like, oh, this is they're not going to let last year happen again.
No, go away, underdog UNC guy. Get out of here.
I gave you 3 different examples, 2 of them which weren't UNC. What the Duke one is a closer example. They lost by 30, then they came back, beat the team that beat them, and then won it all. I mean, that's kind of what I thought Gonzaga was going to do.
Duke's also a blue blood. Like we're talking about Gonzaga, who plays in the West Coast Conference every year.
I will say this. What was making me laugh last night about all of the people who get so worked up about Gonzaga, right? It's not about Gonzaga. It's about how hard you push them. And then when you're wrong, it's about you being wrong. It's not about Gonzaga at all. So like all the talk on Twitter last night was, oh, you can't judge a program and their legacy based on a single elimination tournament. What is literally the only thing we know about Gonzaga? Like if there isn't an NCAA tournament, we don't even know where Gonzaga is, right? Like that is the only thing we ever hear about Gonzaga is how many Sweet 16s they've made, how many Elite Eights they've made, how many Final Fours they've made. That is their entire legacy. So don't push that and then tell me, well, when they lost, but you can't base their legacy on that. Yes, you can. You've done it for the entire year. Now you're going to hear about it.
You got it. You do have to have championships, I think, to validate it. I mean, it's happened to everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's tough because they've been there. They've been in the title game twice in the last 5 years. No one else has done that. It's like both. I don't know. Both things can be true. I guess my thing is like both things can be true, which is like they've run the West. They've like not just the West Coast Conference. Like they've run the West for like 10 years now. As like UCLA, as Hayes says, not a blue blood, and Arizona. Now it looks like Arizona, but I do want to talk about something. I want to mention something about Arizona and Houston in a second here. But like, Arizona being maybe not quite the same beast as it had been in prior decades, and so like Gonzaga has run the West for the last decade, has been the best team like in the Pacific time zone. Like that can be true. And what can also be true is like, yeah, they still need to like win a title to like validate it to an extent. It's like both things can be true. And then I guess from my perspective, I see people on both sides come out. It's like I see people just like giddy with joy to come out and like crap on Gonzaga, and then I see this other contingent of people that's like is just like for no reason, just like irrationally like upset already to come out and defend Gonzaga against this other group of people. Sometimes the people defending Gonzaga show up before the people that actually want to like bash Gonzaga. It's like an amazing thing to see.
Well, the people that want to defend Gonzaga are also the ones that want to play the Ken Pom and the Bart Torvik and all that stuff. And so they look at Gonzaga's profile, to which I would say, of course, their efficiencies are going to be off the charts when they're playing shit-ass teams all the time and beating them.
Well, they adjust those numbers. Some of those numbers are adjusted, to factor in opponent and stuff like that.
But don't. I hate they got the number one offense and number one defense in the country, and like you can tell me they're adjusted, and that is true, right? I'm not saying you're wrong in saying that.
Yeah.
Or like when you're the number one team in Ken Pom, like, and you want to use it, you want to use Ken Pom for one reason of like why all these teams are good. Well, 25 of your games are against lesser teams than anyone else is playing. So of course the adjusted or not, they're still going to be high up there, and they just want to make sure that that they're the number one Ken Pom team in the country. So watch out.
Hang the banner. Okay, real quickly, the thing I wanted to say about Arizona and Houston is why is Houston a 5 seed? What are
we treat the American Athletic Conference the way we should be treating the West Coast Conference and be like, yeah, you had a good year, you get a they should have been a top 4 seed. I agree with you, but not.
They got fixated on the stupid quad stuff, and
exactly. That's why.
That's where it comes down to it. Like where they're sitting in that committee, and like we're so fixated on let's choose teams and let's seed them based on maybe some metrics that don't tell the whole context. Like the same reason. I mean, that's honestly the reality. Like UNC may have earned an 8 seed, right? They may not have earned anything higher, but we all could sit here and be like, are they really an 8 seed? Like, is the team that we saw beat Duke and the team, in Cameron is that an 8 seed profile?
It's just like, I mean, to your point, it's like if you watched Houston this season, if you looked at any of their numbers, everything was spitting out and telling you this is like one of the 5 best teams in the country, not a 5 seed. And just because they lacked a couple of quad 1 wins, that's why they got knocked down. Like it's just really bad process in terms of seeding.
Maybe they had Ted Budd's marketing guy. Houston is number 5, and then it's like, I think it's seed. I think Houston is 5 seed, not number 5.
Do you guys think the committee spends too much time on who gets in, who doesn't get in, versus correctly seeding the teams?
Yeah.
Obviously,
sometimes. But I think they spend too much time on the metrics aspect of it and the quad aspect of it more than any, more than anything. Like Houston probably is the only team we could probably sit here and think maybe it was probably egregiously underseeded, and it thus makes it unfair for them where they deserve to be a little bit higher.
My favorite. I'm switching back to Gonzaga because I wanted to share the stat when we were talking about it. somebody had the stat up. I may have even said it on the other show, but it was just crazy to see that in the past, like 10 years, Gonzaga's only beaten one team that was a 3 seed or higher.
Yeah.
And that one team was like the worst 3 seed. They were like 35th in the net or Kid Pop or something. Like it bears out the, you know what? If you get a 1 seed every time, your odds of making the Sweet 16 are going really high as opposed to even being a 3 or 4 seed, which Gonzaga could be really good. We're talking about Houston being a 5 seed and being a really good team. Gonzaga can be validated as this is a good team, but if they played a whole Big Ten or a whole ACC schedule, they might end up more often as a 2 or 3 or 4 seed with some of these same teams, and life just looks a little bit different. I think that's sort of to your point of duality, and both things can be true, Brian Geisinger. Like, yes, they can be legitimately good and overseeded the same way that Houston is legitimately good and underseeded. I mean, because they've earned the name Gonzaga, and they sound bigger than they are. Like if Houston does this for several years, then a decade from now they'll be getting 1 or 2 seeds coming out of the AAC just because we're like, it's Houston. They are actually pretty good. They backed it up with some Final Four.
Agreed. It's just Arizona Houston is a game that should happen in the Final Four, not the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that if the seeding is warped in a way that like you get if you get what should have been a Final Four matchup in the Elite Eight, it's like, okay, that stuff happens. But this one was like one step too early. And look,
Texas Tech was the same way, right?
What?
I think Duke and Texas Tech was the same way. That's an Elite Eight game. That's not a Sweet 16 game.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And look, man, Kelvin Sampson can coach too. Like, they've got good players, but they've got a guy that has a lot of college and NBA experience under his belt.
Did they reseed? You know how here's the example I would say. In the World Cup, we start out with groups, right? And we know that one group might be the group of death, right? And that may just happen. And it's perfectly random, but it happens. But whenever you're done, there is the reseeding in the sense of winner of Group A plays third place team of Group C, right? Like there's a feeling of if you've done the work to get out of your group and be the best in your group, you're not just then matched up with the best.
Yeah.
You're not in a bracket type scenario.
Yeah. All right. The only reason that doesn't work for me, most of the times I'd be with you of like, make it the best and most equitable and screw the fans because they're going to watch and enjoy it anyway. But I feel like filling out a bracket is just too much ingrained.
That's the NCAA tournament is not designed to name the best team.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not designed to name the best team.
We've decided we're okay with that. Like we were all like, you know what? This isn't the best way, but fans are going to fill out brackets, and that is if you took that away, you'd be like literally shooting. Well, not literally. You'd be shooting yourself in the foot if that is your. That's what like every other sport wants. Like, how do we get a fan engagement? How do we get them to care about our playoffs? Like, the president freaking fills out.
Yeah.
Bracket. I got to ask this: Is this the first year, Goodson? I've been watching the WGC match play. Did it used to be like a full bracket, and this year they're doing it World Cup style?
It's not the first year, but they did used to do a single elimination. But when it came to that, there was like, if you lose the first round, it's guys are planning travel, right?
Yeah.
So they do this group thing now. Which the one cool thing about it is like there are a few. We'll spend 10 seconds on this. There are a few matches. Today's the last day of group play. There are a few matches today that are relevant. However, what they've done is if there's ties, it doesn't just go to head-to-head. They literally do one whole playoffs to decide who wins that group and moves on. And then they actually start a bracket tomorrow, where it's single. So it's.
I saw them and I was like, wait, is this? Are they going World Cup format here at the WGC?
Firm question tonight.
Yeah.
Is it to the point where like UNC fans should be disappointed if they lose, right?
Correct.
I mean, is that fair? Or
no, they should be happy if they lose.
Well, I guess the question is, there's not a gravy effect, right? Like, never thought we'd be here because if there is, get out of here with that. Like,
I think there's a little gravy effect.
You will 100% hear that.
I think there's a little gravy effect.
100%.
It's ridiculous.
It's a couple.
Hubert's first year, Sweet 16.
8 seed.
First year, Sweet 16. win over Duke in the final game, like it would be a decent year. And then knock it off at 1 seed, not the fortitude they showed to stay in that Baylor game, even with the whole world against them. No, I think UNC.
Then you're not a blue blood. You are not a blue blood if you were sitting in your Sweet 16 game today,
right?
And you were basically already coming up with the, oh, that was fun. Like that was fun. Wish we would have won, but that was a hell of a ride. You were not a blue blood.
I'm not saying you're being unfair. I think there is room to straddle the fence there, right?
There's not. No, there's not.
You can't. Here's what I've got. Are you asking, is it a disappointing season for UNC if they lose tonight? Is that what you're telling me? That UNC fans should say this year was a disappointment?
With the way the year planned, yes. With the way the year has transpired to this point, like because they could have been a disappointed season if they had lost to Cameron and didn't even make the tournament.
Yeah,
like that would have been a disappointment.
Yes, that would have been a disappointing season.
But now we are to a different level where like the team is actually playing better. They have the win in Cameron. They made a look, they won a game or two in Brooklyn type deal, and they beat Baylor. So like you have to. There's a resetting of expectations, and especially if you're a UNC type school, like. Your expectations now are like, no, like.
All right, but okay. But you're not being unfair. I'm trying to have like a legit discussion here. Yeah. But like, does that end at any point in this tournament? Let's say they make it to the Final Four, and let's take Duke out of it.
I would say
they made the Final Four and lost.
This is opinion.
Are they allowed to say that was a good season?
This is opinion. I think most would say that of the blue blood, the Duke, UNC, Kentucky, UCLA championships are what they are. Is Final Four not like the once you get to the Final Four, you want to win it, but it's okay at that point to more or less cheer for what's happened and understand that this has been a great year, and then like, dang it, we were this close, but the Final Four is kind of like the. I'm fair.
So you're saying if they make the Final Four and lost in the semifinal, then you're okay with UNC fans being like, all right, that was a good year.
Sure. I think sure.
Yeah, crazy, and yes, I think it shows a little bit of. The mentality that Swain likes to harp on a lot, that yes, they'd be a little satisfied this year. I think the issue is in year 3 of Hubert Davis, in theory, you're not satisfied with it. So I think there's a little bit of a
the basketball's changed. Like we don't. That's whenever you have seniors. That's whenever you can like look in the future and be like, hey, this team that has made this crazy run and beat Duke and Cameron and beat Baylor, they have 3 sophomores, right? And they have two juniors who I know like next year. And like we used to be able to play that game of like, okay.
I'm not talking about like who the team will be. I'm just saying in general, partly because of a first-year coach. To be fair, the dude coached nowhere. Like I didn't think he was going to bomb, but I think he's done a decent job in his first year. But like
he has. Like to be clear, like Hubert Davis, I think has shown himself to be a pretty good like X and O's coach.
But if he loses in the first round next year with the team with the same record, and then the year after that he's got a top 10 preseason team that only makes the Sweet 16, I think you run out of love for making Sweet 16. But I'm just trying to be honest. I think that's how UNC fans will feel about this season.
And that's it's so contrary to just the obnoxiousness that they just live with every day. Like you cannot live with this. We are the best. Everyone else stinks. You can't be like us, and then be okay if you lose tonight in a Sweet 16 game, and chalk it up as that was a good year. Who cares?
Preseason. What were they preseason? Number 19.
They were top 25 preseason.
Yeah, but they were like 19, and now they're 12th, and they're top 15. So they're above expectations, baby. They should be getting ACC Coach of the Year for that kind of movement, right?
he got some votes, did he not, Hubert?
Yeah,
right. The bigger question. Yeah, I know you guys want to harp specifically on UNC fans. The bigger question is the Duke UNC potential matchup. Do people want to see it or not?
I usually root for like max chaos, but I don't know, man. Like, I think I'm good without this.
I find that interesting because you have no ties, as much as we try and push each other as like fans or whatever, but like you truly have no ties.
Yeah, but I'm surrounded by both sides of it, and like no one can handle it. No one can handle it responsibly. I just know like when UNC won in Cameron, the vibes were so weird for a couple of days that it was like it made basketball slightly less enjoyable.
But
So
as a guy who grew up basically on Tobacco
I've never
Road,
seen it. Literally,
I'm surprised by your answer, Brian.
never seen this.
Never
And
seen it. Two
I
greatest.
wouldn't be mad.
Are you worried that it won't deliver?
No, no. I have been told repeatedly that it always delivers, so I don't worry about that.
Are you worried they have to fix a new they would have to fix a new graphic because they don't have anything that says the last 20 times they've met in the NCAA tournament, the points are 1,000 to 1,000.
Zero to zero.
0-0. Yeah, it's
it's 0-0. Amazing.
They've both been playing in the NCAA tournament for 60 years, and they've scored 0 points against each other.
It is wild that they've never met in that. Like, I get it, but it's like it's hard for it to happen, and it's rare for like interconference teams to see each other like that. But given how they're in the tournament every year, and both teams are like consistently making like deeper runs into the tournament than like average tournament team X, it's like kind of wild they haven't like met previously in the NCAA tournament. Like, I'd like to see it. I don't know. It's like it scares me a little bit.
You see it once.
Everyone will just lose their minds, Yeah,
there's two reasons that I don't want to see it. One is the week between Sunday and Saturday.
Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Nobody wants that.
We wouldn't even be able to do a show. We wouldn't be able to talk to each other.
That's what I'm talking about.
The second thing
We
is,
would spend all next week doing every show, not trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
The second thing is, if they were on opposite sides of the bracket and meeting on Monday in the championship, give me that. Don't give me them meeting in the semifinals, because that game should be the last game of the season if it ever happens.
Somebody's going to win and then go lose.
Don't turn around and play again, 2 nights later, and you've got to talk about another game. Like that, the only people who should want Duke and Carolina to meet in the semifinals are like Kansas and Houston.
100%. You'd love for them to be going at each other.
I don't like the game itself. Cool, whatever. I don't want the week before, because that would be annoying as shit. And then also to turn around and have to play a championship game 2 nights later or a night later or whatever would be just absolutely
next
miserable.
week could be the renaissance of a bunch of like old beat writers. Though, like Art Chansky would be on every radio station across America. Like they would probably even dig into like perm. Like someone would find Permar, like, because every radio show in
Swain would be on in Australia.
Every radio show in the country and the world will need someone. Like, we got to have somebody to talk to UNC, and like they'll be searching Twitter and they'll find like, oh, Hayes Permar, like, whatever. And
like get this guy on. Now, Swain makes some good points of both. If it were the championship, then we wouldn't have the week buildup, right?
Right.
There's a lot to talk about them both being there, but you can't.
But you're not. Swain, you have no. But as a Duke guy, even if they met, even if it was a scenario where they met on the Monday, there's not the this would end up being the final trump card in the rivalry. Like you're not worried about that aspect of like the what it means for the rivalry per se, or are you?
No, because like if it happens once, it can happen again, right? Like there's no final trump card, right? Like It's always going to live on no matter what. It's
as Putin gets frisky.
It's that week build up would just be absolutely miserable.
God, it'd be fun. There'd be so much subtweeting going on. Like people,
it would be bad, dude.
How long you responding to like every national take with a subtweet? You'd be like you see a Swain tweet, you'd be like, "Who is that? Is he going? Is that Is that directed at Goodman? Was that at Seth Davis?"
If you were still DG's producer, like, how would next week look?
Oh my God!
I need an A-level guess. I need Kay. I need Roy. I need you to go get Dean Smith's wife.
Would he book any Duke guests? I don't think he would.
Smokey Glenn.
Duke guests. Kenny Denard would be on there, baby.
You would get Biden. Like, that would be worthy of getting Biden on. That would be worthy of like.
He's not a real college basketball fan. Yeah, Kenny Denard would be everywhere. I've been texting my friends like, "Who is the dude in the green camo?" And I'm like, he's a really cool dude, Kenny Denard.
I want to see it. I, as a sports fan, like I want to see it. But if it happens, Duke's got to win as a state guy. Duke would have to. Well, UNC fans, like you talk about, the trump card may not exist, Swain, because of it's not the final one, the final instance. UNC fans would be the most unbearable that they would have ever been unbearable in the world of unbearableness if they were to win that game over Duke.
Yeah, I'm bringing B Dot to your house, Goodson, to watch the UNC Duke semifinal.
I mean, we survived it once, right? 91, right? 91. They were a game away from.
It's fun. I was obviously 13 at the time, and it didn't. I watched both semifinal games and final, and it didn't like hit me how close it was to being a Duke UNC final. I didn't have enough perspective, and partly like K was just about to go on his dominant run there, so it didn't seem as it would have been. It wouldn't have been as big a deal then, I feel like, as it would be now. But obviously still would have been big, but you're like, oh man.
Well, also that, in 91, that's only how many years after the field expanded to 64 too?
Like 10, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
should we be buying tickets right now in advance for a potential next Saturday?
I mean,
for resale purposes.
The tough part now is they're probably. I mean, if UNC wins tonight, then people will probably start buying on speculation of a Duke UNC semifinal, right? Because at that point you're 2 games away. Still a long way to go, folks. I mean, UNC and Duke both.
UNC's not even care. They don't even care about tonight because it's gravy anyway. So this is a dumb conversation to be having anyways. Like UNC's good.
I will say the cool thing for UNC, if you win tonight, you either get St. Peter's, and you're going to be hard to not think that you are going to win that game, right? I'm not taking anything for granted in a regional.
You're winning the game. Stop being stupid.
But if you're playing St. Peter's, you're being like, all right, we're winning that one, right?
That would be the funniest outcome, though, is if UNC just like blew the doors off UCLA. St. Peter's like squeaks by Purdue, but then St. Peter's beats UNC.
After Duke's already beat Arkansas.
The other thing would be interesting too. UNC Purdue. We talked about this. Purdue was the one good team the UNC lost, but didn't get their ass kicked by in the first, 3 quarters of the season when they were getting their ass kicked by good teams. So either of those matchups would be fun if they won them. If they beat UCLA, we'll see. We've got some time to. We've got this weekend. Monday we will know whether or not we get a Duke UNC game on the following Saturday night. Anything else you want to hit on the tournament before we do a little?
I'll be doing the Magic Johnson. I'm not gonna be here.
Pac women play tomorrow, and UNC women play tonight. UNC women are in Greensboro State. State starts the group of death up in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Yeah, what is up with that?
Still ridiculous. Do they have to play Indiana, or is that on the other side?
They play Notre Dame, and they've already played Notre Dame twice this year. Notre Dame was actually one of the 3 teams that beat State,
and they're coming off a 30-point win over somebody.
Yeah.
Notre Dame,
and they play at 11 a.m. tomorrow, so they will. They
get conference rival that's playing awesome and that has national championship pedigree and is used to the moment.
Then at 11 a.m. start.
then they get either the home team that's the greatest, basically the most storied women's program playing at home, or the ghost from last year if they happen to pull off the upset, the team that beat them.
How does this happen where State would be the 1 seed against UConn, but the game is like in UConn's backyard? That's just it's disrespectful is what it is. But
while UNC's a 5 seed and gets to play in Greensboro tonight.
Yeah, that's what. Yes, I mean, more to my point, it would be it would be interesting if UNC and Purdue did end up playing one another, because you would have Jaden Ivey of Purdue playing UNC and his mom, the coach of the Notre Dame women's team, which is now getting set to take on State, which is kind of fun.
But then I know we talked about this specifically on the show, and it would have been disrespect to give State the 2 seed. But if you had given them the option, I think they would have said, "Give us 2 seed in Greensboro." And
yes,
people already said they basically admitted that it was about selling tickets. They didn't say selling tickets, but they said fan experience.
Yeah.
It would be great for the fan experience.
Money.
You want to do that, have Connecticut go play in Connecticut and have South Carolina and North Carolina State play in Greensboro. That's a sold-out game, right? I mean, a huge atmosphere, and at least State gets a fair stake and showing in that game that there's no way that
they would have a huge turnout if that was.
That's what I mean. It's like awesome women's game in Greensboro. Also, randomly, I found this out. I know you're going to love this reference, Josh Goodson. On podcast Raleigh, we talked to Scott Dupree of the Greater Raleigh Sports Alliance, and he said basically he thinks that Raleigh could get a women's Final Four, but for PNC doesn't have the convention center hotels around it. Like he says, the NCAA doesn't care about hotels or convention centers for picking first and second round sites or even second or third. That's why PNC has gotten it for men's and women's many times. They're like, the building's great. They love State as hosts. They love the people. They love everything about us. Like, but we can't get the women's Final Four because there's nothing around PNC. And he's like,
there's Keno right across the street.
Yeah.
Are you guys aware of the casino basically across the street? But, I mean, how cool would that for Raleigh to be hosting a Final Four? Anyway.
It would be awesome. I believe that like that should happen, and I also think that like Raleigh should host an ACC tournament. Like I know it'll never happen. I guess it can't happen because PNC is technically State's home or whatever. But like it's dumb that we have these conversations about like, oh, where should the ACC tournament be? And we can't even consider this area, like the number one college basketball market in the country. And it's just like, can't even think about it, Like that kind of sucks, honestly.
What if they just hosted Tuesday in Greensboro where State's playing and then move it to Raleigh for Wednesday through
State stinks at home anyways. It's not like there's a competitive advantage. Like the players don't even like playing at PNC.
Yeah.
Like, guys, this is not – trust us. This is not –
Have you seen our home record? Come on.
Speaking of State, real quick, there's been some discussions in the last couple of days with a couple of the players who they really need to get back next year, and things aren't looking as awesome as we may have thought it would be.
Why did we think they were looking awesome? It didn't make any sense a couple weeks ago. The false optimism of some that was like pumping out of that program didn't make any sense to me.
To which I'm kind of the like of at some point, Kevin Keith had to sit down with Boo Corrigan and had to have a discussion like, who's coming back? You need to tell me who's coming back, who's not coming back, and where do we sit with this kid, this 5-star kid? And if you don't know the answer to those questions, or if there's uncertainty, it's like, all right, man, this ain't gonna work. Like,
my favorite is, and this is poor. I mean, you have to do this. If you're a major college coach, I assume that you have a summer camp. But like the tweet dropped, like all these dudes are transferring, and the tweet drops like, hey, sign up for Kevin Keats' summer basketball camp. And then you're like, oh, man. The jokes just read themselves. Like, learn how to keep your resume fresh for the transfer portal. Learn how to play in front of quiet gyms or whatever. Or you might be trying out for the team. Are you 18 and eligible to play in college next year?
Well, we'll see. I was thinking it's like you go in there, you think you're signing up to be like a counselor for the camp, but Keith has hoodwinked you. It's actually like you've signed your letter of intent. You now play for NC State. The old gotcha move.
You sign up as a counselor, and then like you go out there the first day and you hit some threes, and he's like, "Hey, we're not gonna be able to pay you." Like, what? Like, we're putting you on scholarship. So sorry.
Hey, speaking of transfers, I don't know if you guys caught it last night, but a lot of salt from Pitt fans about the transfer that's playing for Arkansas.
Tony. Yeah. There's 2 ACC transfers on Arkansas because you got Chris Likes down there. Although he's like in pretty – I wonder if Jim Larinaga is like, you could have stayed. Could have been a part of this. But because now, I mean, they're both in tournaments still.
I forgot Miami's still playing tonight, and like they're probably going to win, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, I forgot about Miami as well. You told me
Miami is the ultimate we got nothing to lose team. Like they play as loose as anybody in the country. It's really fun to watch.
I think this is their 3rd Sweet 16 under Larinaga at Miami, and like what was Miami before Larinaga got there, right? I mean, that dude has validated himself as a very good basketball coach. The dude knows the game.
Yeah, well, I think even like this season, like we've talked about it, I've written about it, but it's like they like reinvented this offense. Like they're playing differently this season than they have in years past, and it's like one of the things other than them having like good players that has them in the Sweet 16 with like a better than 50% chance of making it to the Elite Eight. It's pretty.
How many Sweet 16s would Larinaga have if he was sharpied in as the #1 seed in the South every year?
Larinaga is going to go take that St. Mary's job. It's funny. I always try and name another West Coast team besides Gonzaga or St. Mary's, and like in the moment, I can never think of one.
Yeah.
Like
Santa Clara, Herps Index. Let's go.
Yeah. San Francisco.
There we go.
And I think maybe the Got Man.
San Diego, but like it's not good San Diego State, just San Diego.
Not even good San Diego.
Not even good San Diego. All right. Without further ado, we'll enjoy the games tonight, including 2 more ACC teams to play. Let's see if we can get 3 in the Elite Eight and just continue to give crotch chops to everyone else. It's time to decide if things are overrated, underrated, or properly rightly rated. This is Rightly Rated.
Being a dad is underrated.
Underrated?
So being a dad is underrated. I got to go pick up both kids today.
All right. See ya. First up on Rightly Rated. Here it is.
Why didn't he get Moose to do it?
That's not it. Oh, shoot. I got to go find my other shoot.
Come on, Perm.
I know. I'm botching it. Hold on. First up on Rightly Rated. Let's just start here. What's this one? Buses. Are buses overrated, underrated, or rightly rated? This comes up because a baseball game between Notre Dame and Northwestern was postponed because Northwestern didn't have bus drivers to get them to the game. How is this happening? Are buses overrated, underrated, or rightly rated? What say you, Swain?
I'm gonna go overrated. I don't know. They're rightly rated. I don't think anybody rates them highly, so I'm going to go rightly rated. There's nothing good about a bus, and absolutely nothing good about a bus.
I'll say buses underrated. Public transportation, generally speaking, like I think even if it could be much better, is still like a good thing. It's better in other countries than it is in America, certainly. But I will still say buses underrated because they help quantities of people get from places A to B, assuming there is a bus driver to actually.
Can I amend my answer really quick?
Yes, sir.
Buses overrated, shuttles underrated.
Also, the bus in Raleigh is free. Good work by the Raleigh government there. You can ride the bus for free in Raleigh. Yeah. And we're going for bus rapid transit. So hopefully they're a little overrated now, but they'll be a little underrated soon. Just pause, Rightly Rated, and welcome in the Weather Moose. Who is? Are you thatching a screen? Is that what we call that? Thatching? Is that correct?
No. I was replacing a door closer on his storm door, and now I'm getting ready to cut some grass, Perm.
All right. Why are you
busy day out on the farm?
Why are you doing random tasks for Josh Goodson instead of appearing on Sports Channel 8, the streaming, and giving us the weather?
I've got to find jobs that pay me money, Perm, and that has more opportunity than doing the weather, as they say.
You have almost as many jobs as Sean Crest. I don't believe that you need more than doing that. But if you need a mortgage, hit up Josh Goodson for Movement Mortgage. If you need some just random tasks done at your house, the Weather Moose, he can like change your tire, fix your screen door. Yep. Get your plumbing right, whatever it is, hit up the Weather Moose. He'll bring his Johnson County know-how to the game. Do you want to chime in on buses, whether or not they're overrated, underrated, or rightly rated, Moose?
I was going to say Swain stole my answer, but can we throw trams in there? Can we lump them in there? They're way better than buses. Let's put them above. Buses are rightly rated.
As someone who's spent some time in the city of Portland, Oregon, where trams are everywhere. Yeah, big fan of trams. They're awesome.
How about I want a gondola. There's this discussion of putting a gondola in Raleigh to take you from the bus station to the top of Dick's Park, basically.
That would be, wait, is that are you for real on that?
There is. It is not in any kind of works, but I know power people have asked questions to other power people about what it would take. because it's kind of the like. Then it'd be wow, a popping visual and like something that we're known for.
That would be tight.
I don't think it's imminent, but it is not just a rumor. I'll say that. It has been
Can we also get a gondola from the convention center in downtown to PNC, so that way we can actually get a Final Four here in Raleigh?
What about a Raleigh to Durham gondola?
Duke University would make sure that project doesn't happen.
I'm not getting on a Raleigh to Durham gondola. You know what's weird? Like I'll ride roller coasters and not get that nervous. I go on that dang the fair flyover thing, and it's merely the fact that it's not moving fast, and you're not that high up in the air, but you're like 30 feet. So like obviously it hurts to the point of maybe killing you if you fall. But it's more the fact that you're just so loosely strapped in. Like it's just far, and you're like, man, if I had a 6-year-old next to me, they could easily just slide out. See, like you just sit there and you start visualizing all that, and you're like, all right, I'm leaning back. I'm not this thing at all. So, I'm not. Gondolas are fine as long as you just don't think about them too much. I put them also in the category of like hot air balloons of like. I'd like to know that if something goes wrong, there's at least a chance that the person in charge could save this. Like plane, boat, if things go wrong, you at least believe the person at the head of this could figure this out. Hot air balloons and gondolas, they're just if things go wrong, they're just falling. That's it. All right, next up for Rightly Rated, we do have it now, I believe. Yes, let's share this tab instead. Arby's. Is Arby's overrated, underrated, or rightly rated? This comes up because Pusha T is now shilling for Arby's. Here's what it sounded like.
I'm the reason the whole world love it. Now I gotta crush it. Filet your fishes. Then you should be disgusted. How dare you sell a square fish, asking us to trust it? A half slice of cheese, Mickey D's on a budget. Arby's crispy fish is simply it. With lines round the corner, we might need a guest list. Eggs is stage left, the sandwiches taste fresh. A little cube of fish from a clown is basic. Say less, this argument is baseless. Drowned in tartar, that filet of fish is tasteless. See, Arby's only deals in the greatness. I bet the house on it like it's Vegas. Look. I could sell water to a well. How could you ever think I'd fail? Yeah, the crispy fish sandwich blazing trails. The mother clown's just too frail. Yeah, if you know me and you know me well, all fish is gonna tip that scale.
All right, so there it is. Is Arby's overrated, underrated, or rightly rated? With T now as the spokesman for their fish sandwich. Swain, what say you?
I haven't eaten Arby's in forever, but I'm going to go underrated just because of the horsey sauce.
Do you remember the commercial with Ray Charles back in the day when they basically played off the fact that he was blind and couldn't see the sauces? And so he takes someone who goes, that's Arby's sauce. Oh no, that's horse sauce. And I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Brian Geisinger, Arby's, overrated, underrated.
I got a text from a buddy yesterday saying Donda 2 plus Pusha T releasing a Mickey D's diss track on behalf of Arby's. I think we can safely put 2022 as good music's official end year. So I'm saying Arby's, really most fast food, overrated. Pusha T is awesome. He wrote a pretty cool song, but I don't know, like doing it on behalf of Arby's is just
all right. Do you know the backstory though? The backstory is Pusha T claims he wrote "Ba Da Ba Ba Ba." I'm loving it. It did not get sufficiently paid for it, and so this was a little bit of. It's not just a. We're making it like a diss track. Like it's a little bit of realness to the diss track, like his beef with McDonald's. Arby's. All right, I'll let Moose answer, then I'll give you my take. Moose, overrated, underrated, or rightly rated? Arby's.
Well, what Pusha T left out of that song is just like everything else at Arby's. That filet of fish tastes like his fish sandwich tastes like nothing. Arby's as a restaurant, way overrated. I only eat the curly fries if I go there. Pusha T, rightly rated. That was awesome.
I will say there's one line in there where he says, "I could sell water to a whale."
The Jay-Z line.
Like he's in the. Is he then saying like this sandwich sucks, but I'm so good that I could make you eat it? Like you're selling me something that I don't need. Like I don't think that's the endorsement that you think it is. That's an endorsement of you as a rapper, not as the filet of fish sandwich.
Look at the damn sandwiches. One is redder. That's it. That's all. That's it.
It's not.
Arby's put their secret ingredient of red on the sandwich. And
Horsey sauce. That's what it is.
I will say,
and I did love seeing everybody react with exactly what BG said, which that's a Jay-Z line, which probably means that it was a Biggie line originally before Jay-Z did it. So
Arby's Jamocha shakes underrated. They've had those in the game for a long time. It's basically a coffee milkshake. I don't know why they just call it coffee. They've always called it Jamocha. And then back in the day, Arby's used to be like pretty darn good. They would slice the meat like they do at Jersey Mike's for your sandwich right in front of you. It'd be hot, and they'd have the slicer, and they'd weigh it. Like, all right, there's your half pound of roast beef, and that was pretty darn good. Now,
plus you get like 100 sandwiches for $10.
Yes, you
got that on the value menu. 100 roast beef sandwiches for $10. You can get that.
What?
It was not quite. It was a high school like dream, but it was a mix between they was good enough and the value was good. Now the marketing's pretty good, and every now and then I'm like, man, I should try that. Huggins knows what you're talking about. 5 for $5, baby. The five sandwiches for $5. There were no comments about whether Duke should play UNC, whether about Gonzaga losing.
As soon as you start talking Arby's,
Ooh, I didn't even know about Arby's chicken strips. I could see
they taste like roast beef.
Yeah, if I eat anything at Arby's, it's going to taste like roast beef because my brain is going to change the flavor to roast beef.
Except the Jamocha shake. That's
it's not even good roast beef.
They got Pusha T. They had H. John Benjamin doing commercials for him a couple years ago.
Oh, that was cool.
They've got some good commercials. Yeah. I used to be the biggest sucker. Like if you have a good marketing campaign, like I'll drop it one time, like regardless of product. So I'd always buy like the weird variations of
Arby's
stuff
right there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't do fish sandwiches myself. I finally and rightly rated. Let's share this tab here. Gifts. Are gifts overrated, underrated, or rightly rated? This comes up because Stephen Wilhite, I don't know how to pronounce his name, if that's correct, but that's fine.
Well, we don't know how to pronounce GIF either. So
apparently, I'm mispronouncing GIF, so I don't care about his name, but he has passed away. Poor guy. He invented the GIF, but now he's just more known for, we make him out to be salty that everyone's pronouncing it wrong. I believe 70% of the population still uses GIF, even though poor Steven said it should be GIF. What say you guys? Is the GIF overrated, underrated, or rightly rated? And if you want to chime in on pronunciation, you can too. Moose, what do you say?
Look, I built an entire online presence based on it. So it's underrated. I probably wouldn't have ever met you guys without it. So the best fucking thing in the world to me.
Yeah, what happened to those?
I got busy. I started a lawn care business. I fix houses. It's tough.
Brian Geisinger, gifts, overrated, underrated, or rightly rated?
They're rightly rated, man. They're fun. They're like a good, an easy way to convey emotion amongst friends or on social media or whatever. So I would say they're rightly rated.
All right, and Swain.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it back to a ACC Media Day where you and I learned from the Georgia Tech players. Josh Pastner, huge GIF guy.
Yeah,
he's a group text. He's a group text guy. He's a huge GIF guy.
That makes so much sense, honestly.
So based on that, I'm going to go that they're actually underrated.
GIFs are underrated. I remember like when they first came out. I felt like SB Nation used to keep a bunch of them, and they were like some GIFs I could just sit for hours and just watch. Like there's one like a halftime show guy on a unicycle. He goes crushing into a mascot or whatever, and like it's just random. They don't even have meaning, but you're like, man, I don't know why. A perfect gift is awesome.
I do love the thought of it's 2017. Ben Lammers is up late, like studying for some engineering exam, and like Passer is just blowing up his phone with like GIFs from like The Office or something like that. Well, I really enjoy that visual.
I think we're talking about Josh Pastner, but is there a Scott Pastner too? Oh yeah, we're talking. There we go.
Okay,
Josh Pastner.
There we go.
I forgot to mention the random aside before we close out here. I I forgot to mention last night, my buddy is in California, and he starts sending me all these pictures of Texas Tech gear, Red Raiders, and talking about how excited he is for his team. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking? You know, he's obviously being silly, but I missed out. Apparently, he said this happened 10 years ago. He has been erroneously placed on the Texas Tech alumni database. And so he gets, I'm trying to show you one now. Like he gets all this. He said, I have been contacted by seniors at Texas Tech looking for advice in a field that I am not a professional in. And he's like, I'm just somewhere there's a Bill Herbert who is just salty that he's never been contacted by his school after all he did for them. And so this guy, he's like, and he writes on TV shows, like every TV show I write on, I pick somebody else in the writer's room and I just forward them all my Texas Tech emails. One of them sent me a Texas Tech polo one time. So he had his polo on last night. So it's a rough game for my man Coleman, who has been adopted into the Texas Tech family. But it was fun. It was cool that he finally got to cheer for his team at a big moment. So congrats to him. That is Riley Ryan. This has been Sports Channel 8, the streaming show. Enjoy the games tonight. I won't make you do weekend predictions because we've already gone over an hour and we got to play for this hosting time and we run out of it. For Ben Swain, for Brian Geisker, for Josh Goodson, and Mr. Fix-It, the Weather Moose. Enjoy the games tonight and all weekend. Maybe we'll have a UNC Duke Final Four when we come back on Monday. We'll see. Sports Channel 8, we out.
Sports, when you've got a great ball club. Sports, when you're leaving it all on the field. Sports, when you like your team's chances. Sports, to survive and advance in sports. For the teams you love and the teams you love to hate. Oh, it's Sports Channel 8. Yeah. Sports Channel 8.